Liverpool have been one of the most dominant sides in world football over the last 5 years or so, but this season hasn't been their best. Mind you, they are climbing back up the table, but clearly there's some work that needs to be done in the summer transfer window, particularly when it comes to their midfield, with some ageing players, some players whose contracts are expiring, and also some players that might just not be up to the quality levels that they need anymore. So today, we're going to be rebuilding Liverpool within Football Manager over the course of 1 year, looking at some realistic transfers to see if we can take them back to the top of the Premier League. Now, we did a Chelsea rebuild on the channel, the first rebuild for a while the other day, and you guys seemed to enjoy it, and the top comment was to do a Liverpool one, so here we are. So let me know in the comments down below who you'd like to see in the next rebuild. Don't forget to smash the like button if you do enjoy, subscribe for more, and remember, all of these transfers I'm calling realistic could not potentially happen. It's all just my opinion, people that I think might be able to fit Liverpool and their budget. So with that being said, let's get into the rebuild. So in the world of Football Manager, we do start at the beginning of the current season in real life, so we need to forward ahead with this season before we can really get stuck in to our rebuild. But just to show you some of the issues Liverpool are having, if we go to the midfield areas and look at the options in midfield, we've got Thiago, who's got 2 years left on his deal currently, and at the end of this season in real life will only have a year left, and he's not getting any younger. Fabinho, who hasn't been at his best recently, but there's still a very good player in there. Trent's obviously a fantastic player and an option in midfield, particularly after his real life performances currently, but Naby Keita's contract's up at the end of the season, as is Chamberlain's, as is Milner's. Arthur's loan isn't going to be continued. Harvey Elliott is of course a promising talent for the future, and Jordan Henderson is another one where he's just not getting any younger, and we need a complete refresh in this midfield. Up front and on the wings, I feel like Liverpool do have enough depth. Salah, Núñez, Jota, Gakpo, Luis Diaz is also in there, Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, and Firmino is here for this season as well, but we'll move on at the end of this season. So I don't feel like the attack needs too much work, but the midfield clearly does, and the defence you could argue as well. With Matip not being at his best recently and his contract is getting towards the end, it might be time to start looking at another midfielder to prepare for the day when Matip and Van Dijk are no longer around to partner with Konate. So we'll be looking into all of that in this rebuild, but let's forward ahead with the first season and see how we get on. It's a far better year than what Liverpool have had in real life, but I'll talk about why this is actually still a good place to build from. Obviously, I can't replicate exactly what's happened in real life. We have picked up 2 of the English Cup competitions, the FA Cup and the Carabao, but let's really forget about them. They're not going to play into our rebuild too much, but what we can see is there is a big divide between pretty much anyone else and Manchester City in the league. Obviously, in real life, Arsenal have kept up with them, but in the FM world, there is a big difference between us and City, and we need to try and close that gap by improving the midfield, and I think that is the place where Liverpool are let down the most. I think there's not enough quality there, not enough people that can stay fit regularly, and we need to bring some players in. So with our first season simulated and out the way, it's time to get on with our transfer business. To let you know, transfer-wise, they've given us 117 million. I have had a look, and there's rumours that Liverpool will have about 150 to 200 to spend, but obviously that is just complete rumour mill stuff off of the internet. I don't know exactly how much money they've got in the bank to spend, but we've got a sizable transfer budget. Wage budget is going to be pretty decent as well, with the likes of Milner, Keita, Firmino, as we mentioned, all running out on their deals. There'll be some cash to spend, and hopefully that can mean some players that we bring in. Now for the fun part though, the transfers. Don't forget, if you do enjoy this rebuild, please go ahead and smash that like button, because it really will help with the video's performance, and let us know that you want to see more of these. We try to approach these rebuilds with a different style, purely focusing in on 1 season and realistic transfers as opposed to the full 5-season rebuild. So do let us know if you are enjoying it, and if you do want to see some 5-season Football Manager big rebuilds, you can see them on my channel linked in the description. Any support over there we'd massively appreciated. We've got Valencia, Chelsea, Leicester, amongst many other teams. I'd be very grateful if you did go over there and hit the subscribe button. But anyway, the transfers, and I'll be honest, in terms of outgoings, there wasn't too much that we did. Joel Matip, as you can see, is no longer a Liverpool player. We've sent him off to Inter Milan. At the back, we've got Van Dijk and we have got Konate, who are both brilliant centre-back options. We've got Joe Gomez, who's a nice 4th choice depth option. He can also sometimes fill in at right back if needed. He's a homegrown talent in the UK, and that's something that Liverpool will need in their squad. But with Matip only having a year left on his deal, we did decide to offer him out. It upset him a little bit, but we did manage to get him gone, and he's gone to Inter Milan for 19 million. A year left on his deal. I don't think that's too bad at all. We'll certainly take the cash and reinvest it, but that means we will need another defensive option option, but first, the midfield. Now, when I approached Liverpool's midfield, I decided that I felt we needed 3 players in the team, maybe not all regular starters, but depth options, players who can get better over the years, and we looked at plenty of targets. I'll start off with the ones that I liked, but we didn't go for. The first one being Nicolo Barella of Inter Milan. Couldn't go for him because his transfer valuation was just too high. Jude Bellingham as well, I'm not going to show, but it seems like that transfer to Liverpool is off and no longer realistic. Whilst I don't think Barella would command this high of a fee in real life, he's just not someone that we could go for in this FM world. Similar situation with Mason Mount in this FM world. He had signed a new contract. I do think he'd be a fantastic player in the Jurgen Klopp system. 20 work rate tells you everything you need to know there. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I hope he stays at Chelsea. But if Liverpool get him, I think people will start to see just how good Mason Mount is. I know he's kind of disrespected in the footballing world a little bit, but I think he's a phenomenal player. Chelsea's player of the season 2 years in a row. And if Liverpool get him, I think it'll be a great signing. But because he had his contract extended, it didn't really make sense for us to sign him in this world. Manuel Ugarte is one that's being linked with Liverpool a lot in real life currently, playing for Sporting Club de Portugal out in the Portuguese divisions. He is a really talented midfielder, a South American defensive midfielder who can get better as the years go on. Also, I didn't mention earlier, but Stefan Bajcetic, who played a little bit for Liverpool in real life this season and did quite well, is someone that we're factoring into our midfield here. So I'm trying not to stunt his growth too much, still have a chance for him to come into that first team. So in my opinion, that kind of deep-lying role behind the two more advanced midfielders that the likes of Fabinho and Bajcetic takes up, I didn't really feel like we needed someone there. I thought those two were good enough options still. Maybe Liverpool fans will disagree with me, but Ugarte is a phenomenal player. We could have gone for him. I just chose some different options and tried to spread the money out. Ismail Benacer was another player we looked at. Again, another one that we didn't go for. Has interest from some big Premier League clubs here. I think he'd be another great pick for Liverpool. A player to dictate the tempo in the midfield. He's great all around, but again, we didn't end up going for him. Moises Caicedo is another one that's highly sought after in real life, and there's a very good chance he could join Liverpool, but in the FM world, he had a transfer valuation of 91 million. Brighton wouldn't accept anything less than that release clause that he has. So Caicedo wasn't someone that we were able to get our hands on, but I do think it's a potential transfer Liverpool could do in real life. But for here, 91 million felt too much right now to splash all on one player when we needed to get a few midfielders in. And the final transfer target I wanted to suggest was James Maddison, who I didn't get in this FM world, but in real life, if Leicester do get relegated, I think there's a lot of clubs that could really benefit from Maddison. I know he's been heavily linked to the likes of Newcastle, but I do think he'd be really beneficial to that Liverpool team. Someone that can play across a few different positions, but in that central midfield role, as someone that likes to get forward a little bit more. He's got the ability to score, the ability to create, an England player as well, and it will likely increase his chances of getting in the national team. So I think it could be a good move for both parties if Leicester get relegated. Even if they don't get relegated, could still be a very good transfer for Liverpool, but we went for a different Liverpool player as our first signing, and that was Youri Tielemans. Now, it might seem like it's not as good as some of the other players we've looked at, and I could certainly see why you might think that. He hasn't had the best of years at Leicester, and he's not really someone that you could really see pressing 24/7 and being a really physical presence in the midfield, like Klopp seems to like, those players that are full of energy, full of desire. Tielemans seems to be more of a luxury player. I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but he's the kind of player that when you're playing well, he can be that man that can unlock a defence or score a long shot or something. But I definitely still think there's a great player in there. The reason I went for him though was his contract was expiring at Leicester, so we could get him as a free agent, and that is still happening in real life currently. He hasn't extended his deal, and he's someone that's not going to be a guaranteed first team player all the time. He's a squad option that can deputise for the likes of Henderson when needed, can fill in when we need him to, and he's a very good Premier League quality player. He's proved that over the years, and to get him for free, I think is a pretty good deal. You can see he doesn't really come in as our best midfielder by any stretch, but he's someone that can fill in those gaps that we need. It allows us to spend a bit more money elsewhere, and I think it'd be a smart pickup from Liverpool if they do get the Belgian in real life. Another player that we picked up was one that looks increasingly likely to happen in real life also. It's Alexis McAllister, the Argentinian World Cup winner, who has been amazing for Brighton this year and can play as a 10, as a central midfielder, or even in that defensive midfield position. And I think the versatility that he offers would be really beneficial to Liverpool. He's got the creative play, he works hard, he's got the set piece ability, he's also got the ability to score goals, and whilst he isn't rated massively highly by Football Manager, I think he'll get a boost in the summer when it comes to his attributes. He's proven that he's getting better and better in the Premier League. I definitely think he's way more than a 2.5-star player. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's not going to cost the world world either, and I think if he did sign for Liverpool, he would walk straight in to their first 11. In this FM world, we managed to get him for 40 million. Realistically, I think he might cost a little bit more than that. I don't know what numbers are being suggested for the transfer, but I'd certainly say he is worth more than that 40 million. But we've paid it here in the FM world, brought him in, and I think he's going to be a great midfielder for us. And my final incoming in the midfield was Ryan Gravenberch of Bayern Munich, formerly of Ajax, and he's another one where his most recent season doesn't tell the full story of his career. He joined Bayern in real life, and much like in this FM world, didn't really have much impact, and it now looks like he's willing to potentially move away, and at a cut price as well. But when he was at Ajax, he was one of the most promising talents in world football, a physically dominant midfielder, 6'3". He's big, he's technically gifted, he's mentally very strong as well, and so young with so many years left in the tank that I think he could really suit Liverpool. They've got Van Dijk, they've got Gakpo, they've got the Dutch element flowing through their team already, and to be able to pick him up for 35 million here seemed like an absolute bargain. I'm not saying he's going to be the final product, the one that comes straight into Liverpool and wins them the title again. I don't think he'll do that, but he's going to lower the age of that midfield, bring in someone that can get better over the years, but also has a lot of immediate quality as well. And when you think that Chamberlain's left, Milner and Keita has left, and we've replaced them with Gravenberch, McAllister, and also Tielemans, I feel like that's pretty good business. None of them cost a crazy fee and have immense pressure on them. We've managed to split the cost across a few transfers, and I think that would definitely suit Liverpool more than splashing it on one player like it seemed they were going to with Jude Bellingham. I think that's the way Liverpool need to go, to bring a few players in instead of just one really quality midfielder. I think that's what they will do in real life, and I think our signings here could suit them and do really well. But I did mention we needed a defender. Now, one player that I very nearly signed was Gertrude of Feyenoord. Apologies if I've butchered that pronunciation, but he seems to be moving to Newcastle here. But the main reason I didn't go for him was I found someone that I felt suited as better. What I do like about Gertrude here is that he's young, he's better, but he can play centre-back as well as midfield and right-back. And if Klopp does keep using this system where Trent seems to drop into that midfield role a little bit more and then fall into right-back on defence, Gertrude is someone that could potentially do that. Not got as an amazing delivery as Trent has, but he does have passing range. He could come into that midfield role when needed, could slot in at centre-back. I think he's a great player. Another Dutch international that maybe Van Dijk and co could help settle him well, but I decided to go for someone that's more immediate quality and would add that star element to the defence of Liverpool and add a balance as well. And that is Josko Gvardiol, a left-footed centre-back. Also can play full-back, but I won't be using him there. I think him, Konate and Van Dijk can alternate and make a very good defensive partnership, and eventually when Van Dijk moves on, you've got Konate and Gvardiol who've still got their prime years left ahead of them. A player with a lot of potential, already a highly coveted international, and has played a few seasons at Leipzig, doing well in this FM world. He also did great, and we managed to pick him up for 59 million. I think in real life he might end up costing a little bit more than that, but he does add a balance of having a left-footed centre-back, someone that can progress the ball nicely in our Liverpool team. And that was the final bit of transfer business that we did. We bought in a defender and we signed 3 midfielders whilst also getting rid of some of the older heads at the club. And now if we pick our best 11, do any of our new signings make it in? Not quite yet. Actually, none of them do. But if we bring a few of our players in, you could see the likes of Gvardiol pairing up with Van Dijk, maybe putting Konate as the long-term defensive partner of Gvardiol. You add McAllister into this midfield who could play here. He could also float forward and create some chances. We've got Gravenberch who can fill in these right channels and link up with the likes of Alexander-Arnold and Salah to create some good chances over there. And maybe you are someone that believes, like FM, that Henderson and Thiago are better midfield options, but you've got to think those two aren't getting any younger, and Liverpool clearly needs some extra talent in those areas. So I think we've done pretty well with these signings. Let me know what you think down below though, and now we're just going to run a season with these transfers and see how the team does. And the answer is very good. I did not expect anything like this, but we've gone and won the Carabao Cup again. I believe that makes it 3 years in a row. We didn't do great in the FA Cup, but we've won the Champions League, beating Real Madrid in the final 3-2, and we've also won the Premier League by 5 points, a 90-point total, a very impressive season from our Liverpool team. And I haven't done any crazy tactic or anything. This is just a 4-3-3 gegenpress preset that the game provides. I've just switched a few of the roles around to be the ones that I like, really. But this team has done very well. Just to have a look, did any of our new players playing that Real Madrid final? Gvardiol seemed to appear at fullback, and Tielemans actually scored in the final for us, so clearly he's had a very good season. If we have a look at the best rated players, we've got Salah, we've got Nunez, we've got Gakpo and Arnold, but also McAllister having a very good season, most of the time playing off the bench, which I don't agree with, and I don't think would happen in real life, but because of how FM rates frustrates him. It's just the way that it's going to be. Tielemans playing a lot this season, getting 17 goals, which is a very impressive return from him. Gravenberch's done well. Gvardiol's had plenty of appearances also, maybe not been at his best in the first season, but he's got time to get way better yet, and I'm very happy with the way this has turned out. I think it's been a good rebuild. I think we've signed the right players, and I think this Liverpool team would then be good for another few years. Now you could maybe think about replacing some attackers, but this summer the midfield is clearly the priority, and I think we've done a good job of sorting it out. Let me know down below who you'd like to see rebuilt next. Do you agree with my transfers? Come check out my channel linked in the description for more longer form rebuilds where we cover 5 seasons in one video. I think you'd really enjoy them, but most of all, have a great day everybody, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.